I'm Heidelin with Austin Entertainment Management, and this is our Music Strategy Weekly Live. I'm here with my co-host, Mike. How's it going over there?
I'm going good over here. What about you guys? How's it going, Heidi?
Are you enjoying your new desk?
Like so much, it's not even funny. I got a big boy desk now. Proud of it.
I got a new desk, which means Mike got a new desk. Yeah, it's like super happy. Okay, so today's super excited because we have a special guest to give us some inspiration today, Stephen Pietrusza. But first, before I introduce him, I've got some announcements. Coming up this Monday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern is our Get Discovered Music Networking and Education. And we have Schroeder Nordholt with us, who is going to talk to us not only about vocal performance as it is when you're singing, but vocal performance when you're speaking. Because when you're an artist, it's not just about going up and playing the music, but a lot of times you've got to do interviews and you've got to talk to people. So Schroeder is a super interesting guy, and he's got some good exercises for us to do on Monday. So you can go to hellisthebomb.com/music community and sign up to register for that. You'll get the Zoom link. And Mike, if you want to put that link I gave you in the chat, that actually is the direct link to register for that event. So that's at 7:30 p.m. You know what? If you're not even sure if you're going to be able to make it, just like at least register, and then the reminder will pop up on Monday, and then you'll be like, oh yeah, I'm not doing anything anyway. So just come check it out. It's a good opportunity to learn more about what you might be missing with your music strategy. All right, let's see. I still have not started interviews for Fridays. I'm sorry, I'm slacking a little bit. So there's not going to be an interview this Friday, but I have started scheduling some of the interviews. So I will keep you posted on Friday. This Friday, we just have a little break. And I think that's it for my announcements for this week. So that means we get to bring on Stephen. Okay, here he is.
Hey.
Stephen Pietrusza. How are you today?
I'm doing great. It's Wednesday, so I have like 1, 2, 3, 4 piano lessons. And then I got a church I play for called Grace Orlando Church, and we rehearse on Wednesday. So it's a good, busy day for me.
Awesome.
That's great.
Stephen and I were talking. He's a member of our Accountable to Music group. And I really got to know a little bit more about his story. And I'm like, okay, like this is inspirational. You need to share this with everybody. So here we are featuring Stephen, because Stephen, like you've done like some pretty impossible things. I mean, if you go out there and you ask in the Wild West, like, should I start a music business? Am I going to be able to financially support myself? And everybody says, oh, it is so hard. It's so impossible. But you are an example of how it's not impossible.
Yeah,
so
I think
start with your story, Stephen.
Well, I think like the title I chose, you asked me to choose a title, and so I chose the title Playing My Dream Game, Playing Your Dream Game. And I think the sad truth is that life is hard, life is freaking hard. And I think we behoove ourselves to try to figure out something that we enjoy and then lean into that thing being hard. Look, music career is like kind of hard. It's a little tiny bit hard, maybe, but so is anything worth doing. And basically my story is that I have really, really good parents. And my dad taught me to just do a good job at whatever I do, no matter what it is. So even like, growing up, I had no idea what I wanted to do. And maybe I was even like a little alienated from my own personality. So I'm just like doing my thing, getting through life, kind of just checking off the boxes, like a lot of other white middle-class dudes end up doing, to be perfectly honest. So I was about to finish college. I did finish college. I have a degree in chemistry. And I was like, I just kind of realized that the entire time I had been studying, I had been listening to these piano players and thinking about them like they were heroic or godly. And I'm like trying to get into medical school, and I'm realizing, wow, I've never really been like impressed by a doctor per se. And if you are, I think that's a great idea that leads you to, I should do this. What I mean to say is, if you see somebody doing something and it impresses you deeply in your spirit, you are unwise to ignore that. You should really listen to that and maybe investigate that a bit. So for me, I was in Orlando, Florida. I had just finished my degree in chemistry. I had just scored in the 97th percentile on the MCAT at a 3.9 GPA. I think it rounded up to 4. And I saw these dudes playing music, and it was the most important thing I had seen. And I don't really know why. I mean, it's just music. But it felt to me like it was very important what I was seeing happening. And so I talked to myself a little bit about it, and I just pulled the trigger on that feeling. I think that's a thing that I was able to do because I was young and single. Right? I didn't have kids. I didn't have this and that. So I pulled the trigger, and it totally failed because, like, I wanted to be a musician, but I was not a musician yet. So the first thing I want to say when it comes to starting a successful music business is you cannot be a bullshitter. What I mean is you have to be good enough. You cannot have a piano business if you are unable to play the piano well. It sounds obvious, but you'd be surprised. So step one for everybody who's trying to get their music business off the ground is your product development, your product quality. And I lived in that world for a while. I made the decision very haphazardly. Like, pulling the trigger is not necessarily the best option. So I was able to do it. I probably shouldn't have, because I left a great job, and I lived off my savings for like 9 months before I burned through them all. The grace behind that is that I knew that I had to get better. So I knew I had to spend time in music. I had to get my 10,000 hours as soon as is possible. If you have a job, there's a good time, I think, where you need to sort of suffer. And for me, that suffering was like, I would wake up at 4 a.m. and I would practice. And I would practice from like 4 to noon. I get like 8 hours. And obviously you can't practice piano for 8 hours straight. There's lots of different things that go into being a performer. And I can talk a little bit about what my daily routine actually looks like. But I would practice for hours and hours and hours and hours. And I did it in the morning, because if I didn't do it in the morning, I wouldn't do it when I got home after work. So I would practice and then go to work. And then I would get home from work, and I would be so freaking tired that I would just like immediately fall asleep. I think, one of the great advantages of the modern system is that we have efficiency and time productivity to an utmost degree. So I think you can probably live like 3 lives if you're really time effective. I only had to live 2. I'm not even that productive. I couldn't pull off 3. I bet you could, but I just got it down to 2, where I had my music life in the morning and my subsidiary life. Like, right, I have to pay for stuff. I have to be able to support myself. So that was my subsidiary life. And that went on for years. So I quit music, or I quit medicine to do music. In the first year, I make $0.00. And then the second year, I make $0.00 because I really wasn't good enough yet. And I say that with love, the way that you realize your child can't bench press 255 pounds. That's what are you? Of course you cannot do that. Don't do that. But you have faith that the child will grow. So it's this funny balance. Like, most musicians are too self-critical. It's this funny balance of self-criticism and faith that the machine will get better if you keep building it. So after 3 years, I'm finally decent at playing the piano. Okay, I can play a little bit of this and that here and there. And I'm finally able to get my first piano students. And I charged a really low rate because I was super insecure. And I was a little imposter syndrome myself. But, the thing is that, you can't beat the brain with the brain. You got to beat the brain with the world. So I could only teach so many piano lessons in a row before I'm finally like, okay, I'm a fucking piano teacher. I'm doing it. I am. So that third year I started to grow, and that was the hardest year actually, because now music was like sort of actually cooking a bit. And so I had to juggle two pots. I had to juggle the cooking pot of music and the cooking pot of my real job. And what happened was slowly, the cooking pot of my music just grew. You want to take advantage of resources. So for me, being a pianist, my great resource was the local corporations that were offering piano lessons. So I would apply for like School of Rock, or I would apply for lessons in your home. And slowly I'd get these students until eventually this happened, where I had this shitty job. I was making like, I don't know, I was making like probably $800 a week at this shitty job, $600 a week. It wasn't that bad. And I was making like $400 a week teaching. And it seemed like there was finally this opportunity that if I got rid of this, I could grow this even faster. But you can't make that decision until you have it. Like, you can't say, I'm going to lose everything for the gold rush until you found you a piece of gold. If you have not found gold yet, you should not pull that trigger. But I finally had a little bit of gold, and I knew that if I spent all my time and energy chasing it, I could get more. So I quit my job, and it was hard. I mean, like, I learned a lot about discipline and priority, because the nature of a dream game is that you don't have enough time and energy to play a bunch of stupid games. And you really want to find the dream game and play that, because like I'm a man and I'm 27 years old. So growing up, they were bombarding me with like fucking video games, television shows, shitty addicted food that'll like make you addicted to McDonald's and all this bullshit that I could waste time, energy, and money on. And you don't want, I mean, you want to play your dream game. Heidi, do you have something to say?
Yeah. I mean, this is like just like a really good thought, because you have a choice in this moment. What game do you want to play? Do you want to play the game where you're helping someone else build their dream? Are you really happy doing that? Or do you want to make up your own game? Like, do you want to play your dream game? Because you have a choice. And you know, both have their struggles, both have their difficulties.
Yeah.
But I bet that if you're doing something you're passionate about, you're going to have a better time.
You get a different kind of energy. I would almost go as far as saying that it's qualitative, not quantitative. That is to say, like, when you're working on your dream game, it's totally different. You make a good point about the games we have to play for other people. The games I have to play, like when I go out and I meet somebody, you know, I got to play all these games. But like ultimately, I'm talking more even about just the complete traps that the modern attention economy puts us in. Like, for example, if you got to get to 10,000 hours on piano ASAP and you're burning 2 hours a day on your phone, damn, like, it's gonna, and we got to be honest about it. Like, this is possible, but it's like it's a real thing. And if you just are not playing in the real world, you won't win. So when I finally went full-time music, that's when I got a lot more serious about things like my budget, about like, do I really care about this Taco Bell right now? Like, is this gonna serve me at all? And not to be well, just to be honest with it, I suppose for me it was drugs, like just spending lots of money on drugs every month. And I will tell you something. There's a good literature that if you're trying to quit stuff, it's good to replace it with something that matters more, not to try to like distract yourself with shit that matters less. So I'm the most sober I've ever been in my entire life these days, purely because like the idea of me saving $1,700 a month being a musician is so much cooler than me getting high every single day. I get high like every other day, and it's still great. And there's still, you know, it's a balance. You know, I think like it's one of those things where they say it sucks to lose, it sucks to win. but it sucks less to win. So it sucked having to smoke a little bit less weed. It sucked having to like learn how to cook, but ultimately that sucked way less than being negative in my bank account and feeling like, damn, I'm never going to be able to start a family off this. So you got to be serious and you got to be honest. I think the second piece of this all, so once you get good enough, okay, you need to now maximize, especially at the beginning, because it's slow at the beginning. So for me, maximization was simply to get a budget app. I use Mint, it's free, and to start to more seriously track my expenses. And when I started to see that I was spending like close to $900 a month just on marijuana, when I was spending $200 a month on alcohol going out, when I was spending $175 on this month on fast food, it made it pretty easy to like, destroy all of that. With that being said, it took me months. Like habits die hard. So be patient with yourself. Believe
How
that
did
you
you
can
build
do it.
those better habits? What was your process?
So for me, it was all about replacement. If I sit around and I'm bored, I'm going to want to do something stupid. And so, like, just to give you an example, I started with just like little daily things I would do. And at least then, okay, because at least then I could like get my little music things done and say, okay, even if I'm like going to do whatever, even if I'm going to go out tonight, even if I'm going to spend money tonight, like at least I made a step towards the music. And every Sunday, if I completed those tasks well, I would add a new one. So I've been doing that for like 5 years now. So I'm just going to say my daily task list. Okay. This keeps me sober and happy and productive and strong. And when I go out, I feel like I'm doing exactly what I trained for. So I wake up at like 6 a.m. most days. Sometimes I wake up a little later. And the first thing I do is I stretch because a musician needs to have a body that is effective. We play music with our body. So I stretch, I work out, I do these like vagus stretches, I do these sinus clearing exercises. Then I put in binaural beats. A musician has to have a strong mind. So I put in these headphones with the sound. A musician is doing mathematics. So I literally go on Khan Academy and I do math every day. I'm working through the 9th grade module. Because I was just like, dude, do something other than spending money or wasting time. I do the math, then I do this memory training shit, and then I read a book, and then I do my vocal exercises. And look, the point is that these are all like 5-minute tasks. And I can do a 5-minute task easy. And then the next week I was able to add a 5-minute task easy. And what would not have worked for me was for me to say, okay, I'm gonna I don't know. I mean, a good example would be like I'm gonna buy a piano program that tells me like this is what I'm supposed to practice every day for 6 hours, and then I'm gonna drop everything I'm doing for that. Because humbly, I can admit I'd failed at that enough times in a row to say, look, man, like you're not pulling that off. Like stop losing that. So start small, but add things aggressively. Basically, the idea is you want to start with winning. So don't start by losing. Just win easy battles. And then, once you're winning, you feel like you can add more stuff. I do so much shit after that. After the vocal training, I go to the piano and I sight read. Then I do technique exercises. Then I play the songs for the day. It's usually like no less than 20 songs a day. After that, I do these breathing exercises. I do a meditation. I guess the point I'm trying to make here is that, like, if you're trying to have a cool, fun, beautiful job, you should probably be trying to be a cool, fun, beautiful person. And, like, that's Steven that would wake up and roll a huge joint and smoke that and then just, like, fucking get through my day. However, like, that was not beautiful. That wasn't congruent with what I was trying to do.
That is awesome. I love how you talked about doing these little 5-minute things and adding them up. I created an accountability game called Achieve Bet, which is on hold right at the moment, but this is what I found, that if you figure out what your minimal viable product is, like what is the least amount that you could do to function as a human being, and make sure that you have all of those little pieces, and then don't try and jump in and do them all at one time, but you go, okay, what is the one that starts like at the beginning of the day? Like, let's do that one and do that one for a while and be like, okay, I got this. I wake up, I do that, and then I'm okay. Now we're going to add the next thing and keep building on that. It's like playing a video game. You don't start on the hard level, you start on the easy level. Well,
exactly.
I do. You skip to the hard level, but I start on the easy level. And then like once you get better and better and beat some of the bosses, think about it, like each habit is like hitting the boss level. Like as soon as you're not thinking about it anymore, just like when you get up and go to the bathroom every morning, like you don't go, okay, I'm up. First thing, we go to the bathroom. Like you don't even get the bathroom. You just like go in that room, right?
Or you're like, okay, I'm gonna open my eyes now. Let's get it.
Yeah. And so you're basically reprogramming yourself to operate in a more effective manner. So now all of this time isn't just being wasted, or some interruption comes into your life and you're like, oh, well, actually, I've got this planned right now. Like, you've got to wait until this time until I can do that, and setting boundaries.
And again, to keep the focus on games, you need to decipher which games in your life aren't serving you. And for so many people, that's so many games. I mean, the fast food game is so not worth it. You overcharge for shitty food that makes you feel decent for a second. And, like that, you can't be wasting that game because there's only so much time for games. Great examples of games are video games. That's like young men wasting time on video games all day. For girls, it's like social media more, or maybe true crime documentaries.
And murder porn. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I think what stops us from it, like obvious. This seems obvious, like if everyone has a dream and everyone wants to play their dream game, why doesn't everyone just quit every other game and do it? And I think this is where like the love and the faith side of it all come in. Because at the beginning, it's scary that you suck. I think that's why I abused drugs and alcohol so hard at the beginning. Because I was like, fuck, man, I was doing it. I was trying, but it's hard. I'm like, I'm not good at music yet. It's kind of objective and it's okay. And I applaud the brave people who can sit in that uncomfortability sober. Because that is really stronger and braver. And I've made my way to that place after a while, but you can't indulge the fear. If you sit there and think about it, it will seem like it's forever. But now I sit here and, like 5 years is kind of a long time, but at the same time, it feels like it all flew by, and I got here faster than I thought I would, and it wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be, even though it was. I think the third and last part of this is once you have gotten good enough, right, to where you have a reasonable product that can actually, like, people enjoy it, people like it, whatever that is, whether you're a guitar player that's playing solo to tracks, whether you're like me and you're singing over your piano, whether you're like me and you're teaching kids how to play the piano, or adults, whether you're like Heidi and you're singing and maybe you're thinking about vocal students, whatever it is. If you're a rapper and like you can't freestyle over a beat yet, you got to address that, man. So once you get your product quality to where you're actually doing what you're doing, and once you have gone full time and you're maximizing, and maybe you've realized, wow, I can only live on like $2,000 a month if I try really hard, and so I can the last step is to find someone who's doing it to that big level. And I don't know. I mean, like if I had like a wife, if I had like a wife who was like making good money, maybe I wouldn't even need to consider this like extension into the higher, I guess what I mean to say is that like, there's nothing wrong with, being at the 75th percentile of your dream. Cause it's like, if I'm the 75th percentile piano player, everywhere I go and among all my friends, I'm still probably the only pro musician. I'm still the best pianist. You know, it's like, don't compare yourself to the extreme Olympic people.
Yeah.
But if you are trying to be an extreme Olympic competitor one day, you should pay attention to those people and hang out with them. So I met these guys who were telling me this stuff about like just to name drop some people, Marcus Gullin. Look up Marcus Gullin out of South Carolina. That dude's doing huge stuff up there. I think of Micah Reed. I think of, so many people. I think of all the pro bands in Orlando I saw that inspired me. And, I talked to these guys and they're telling me about how they can make like $200 on a show, $300 on a show. And I'm like, dude, $300 is like, if you make $300 a day, you're making six figures. You do the math. And I didn't even know about certain things that were available. I also didn't know about certain tools that they use to make themselves sound good. You want to get that good modern technology. Let that be the faith, okay? That which has cursed us, right? Technology, it messed with our attention span. Funnily enough, that is what saves us too in the modern. So like I use programs that did not exist even 15 years ago, and they train my ear and they help make me a better sight reader. And it's 2023 and it sucks that technology got so whack, but it is still the best thing around. So you kind of got to find like what to plug into and why, depending on who you are. So for example, if you're trying to be a pro musician and you spend 30 minutes a day on Facebook hunting the Gigs for Grabs page and looking at your mastermind you're in with Heidi, that's probably effective for you. If you're trying to be a pro musician and you spend 30 minutes a day on the doom scrolling, just like there's no purpose. So funnily enough, as much as I am a Luddite and I kind of, stray away from the technology, I'm hesitant of the technology. I must admit that it gives us opportunities we never had before. Just for example, this month alone, I played a show Saturday, July 8th, I think it was. It was like 4 days ago. And I found those dudes on a Facebook group called Gigs for Grabs. And it was $120 on my calendar. I did $90 in lessons that day, but with that 120, that turned me into a 210 day. And you want to go by the day. You want to just try to get how good of a day can I have every day. You also want to look for consistent work in music. As I finalize this point, and maybe I'll like stop talking for a second. But as I finalize this point, I must admit that I'm coming from a very specific angle, because there are some people who are trying to be like rock stars, and I'm trying to be a rock star too, to be fair. But like the idea of I'm going to start my music business by having sick gigs every day is that's kind of hard, man. It's kind of insane. It's possible, and if you can find the people to teach you how to do that, do so. For me, what I did was I had to start teaching. I had to start with consistent, normal income. And of course, there was that part of my brain at the beginning, especially when I'm like sitting across the chair from like a 5-year-old and they're like being dumb. And I'm like, dude, I've done such crazy shit in my life. I can't believe I'm in this room with this kid right now trying to teach them piano and like what is going on. And this isn't my, but you got to be humble and realize, look, this might not be it, but this is more it than me making sandwiches at Jersey Mike's for 2 an hour.
Right. At least you're thinking about chords and like music as opposed to like making a sandwich. Like, which one gives you energy?
Exactly. And funnily enough, you design the world around you when you're your own boss. When I'm at Jersey Mike's, they're telling me what to do. But when it's my piano lesson, it's my piano lesson. So these days, that same lesson with a 5-year-old kid is fun as hell for me, because I got a thing. I got a thing. I got a way, and I've been doing it. And I will say this. The world is so surprising and beautiful the way it teaches you about yourself. And like, I got into this whole shtick thinking I was going to just be the best piano player of all time. And I've discovered singing because of what I've had to do. I didn't want to sing, but like being in the band and they're like, hey, no one else is singing, or hey, the singer didn't show up. Steven, sing something. or being forced to make money. So I had to work with children, and that taught me communication skills that I enjoy having. So be humble, you know, just if you're doing the music stuff, try to be humble and try to take whatever you can, especially at the beginning. And as you gain the experience points, as you level up, as you said, you'll have your power, and your power will come. And it's a cool feeling. It's a really cool feeling when like people hit me up about some, hey, can you play here from this time to this time for like $100? And it's really nice to be in the situation now where I'm like, well, you know, I have a gig that day that's paying me 175. So unless you can like beat that, I can't consider that. But back in the day when I had empty days all over my calendar, that wasn't an option. Back in the day, I would play for free. Back in the day, they'd be like, I don't even know. I'd be like, I just play for free. I feel like it was just free. I would just show up and ask to play, or I'd say, hey, your band looks cool. Can I play with you guys? And then finally, money started to come. So my last piece of my puzzle, personally, is I want to start a family. I want a nice house with a white picket fence, and I believe the American dream can be gotten this way. So I teach almost every day of the week. I have the Steven Piano brand and studio. That's a 5-star rated piano studio in Orlando, Florida. Look it up if you don't believe me. Read me some of those reviews so I can inflate my big head further. And, you know, I do like close to like 800-ish, 900-ish a week on that. And so now my next step is to book my gigging calendar. And hopefully one day I just want to be able to like wake up, be an awesome husband to my family, be an awesome dad to my child or children, and then go teach my piano lessons from, you know, 3 to 6, and then play a show from 7 to 10. Dad gets home late with a big bag of money for mom, and all is well in the world. It satisfies me greatly to play the instrument and to grow in the instrument, so I can really understand that if I can just play this game for the rest of my life, I'm going to be super happy.
So I think this is a perfect way to wrap up, because this leads into what we're going to be talking about over the next couple weeks. We're really going to dive into what do you want in life. So it's not just about like, okay, I want to play music, I want to do this, but what about all the other parts of life, and how does that fit in? And is it in alignment, or is it in conflict?
And it makes you a better musician. You know, like if I just wanted to be a musician, I think that's probably how I was at the beginning. Because I just wanted to be the best piano player on the earth, I didn't care about the damage I did to my lungs smoking pot, because I'm a piano player, not a person. I'm a piano player, not a runner. You know, I'm a piano player, not an athlete. It's like, no. You want to serve yourself as a human, and that might be in like some kind of thing. But you're totally right. Like, there's more to life than music. And funnily enough, when you start to consider the rest of life, it makes you a better musician.
It makes it easier for you to collaborate with as well, because you know the direction that you're headed, and you can communicate it in a very specific way with people, so that they go, oh, you're going the direction I want to go, let's do this. When you can't define it very clearly, no one really knows where we're going.
Yeah.
And it's a gamble at that point. That's when you're putting your life in the hands of luck rather than taking full control of where you could be. And I love your story because of that fact. Like, you took control of your product quality. You made sure that that was good. And then you maximized on your processes, finding the time and making sure that the money was there. And how is this all going to work together?
And trimming away the things, like, it's weird because in the modern world, we're all doing things every day that we're literally ashamed of. Like, it's weird now, you know, we got weird shit to deal with and stuff on our plate. So yeah, just trying to even get rid of that stuff is, you know, and then it'll figure itself out from there. There's certain things that become hard. Like, do I practice 45 more minutes, or do I play ball with my kid? Like, that's a hard one. Okay. But do I practice 45 minutes, or do I watch another episode of The Walking Dead? Like, that's an easy one.
Right. Right. And then, finally, you talked about finding someone that's doing the things that you want to be doing, finding a mentor, finding a teacher. And that's a lot of what we're doing here at Austin Entertainment Management is we're connecting you to other people that are doing big things, helping you find new ideas, inspiration. And, Steven is just an average musician with a piano business. And you know what? He's very approachable. He's in our Accountable to Music group. And so you can join our group, come find him there, send him a message, have a conversation, ask him more questions than what we were able to discuss here in this amount of time. He's a cool dude. And if you want to know stuff about piano and starting your own music business, I bet you he would love it to have.
I would love it.
Yeah. So this is what's cool. We can have this community where we can rely on what each other knows, and we can teach each other and bring each other up. And that is the purpose of this group. So, Steven, thank you so much for sharing your story today. Yeah. That was very inspirational for all of those people out there that are wondering, should I wade into starting a music business? Is this something that I should do or not? And I think you gave a good argument as to how it could be possible.
I will leave you with an image of a massive wall. Let's say it's miles thick, and it's made out of cotton candy. Okay? So, if you decide to do this, it's going to take a while, and you're going to have to, move through things, but it's going to be like cotton candy. It's going to be easy. It's going to be sweet, but you have to do it. You got to get through the wall. This is very different than when I was a salesperson trying to make money, and it felt like I was moving through a wall made of rock, and I was banging my head against it, and it hurt, and I hated it, and it was annoying, and I didn't like my boss. So the journey of 1,000 bites starts with a single bite, I guess. So start biting into that, start getting through it. And add as much as you can every day to speed it up, just for the sake of time.
That is a great way to end this episode. Thank you, Steven. We'll see all of you guys back here next week. And just some parting words as far as if you're in Wisconsin this weekend, farm stock is going on in Kaukauna. And you can catch more of that on our website, hellisthebomb.com/Brodazafa if you're interested in attending that event. All right, everybody, we will see you next week. I'm Heidi for this week's Music Strap.